Hello and welcome back to the Women's Football Chat. Today we're here to talk about the WSL title race because last weekend the 23-24 title race took another huge turn. Manchester City dropping points and losing to Arsenal, Chelsea winning and going ahead on goal difference. It's a huge swing, Harry. Firstly, can you believe it? What a mental Sunday we had.
I mean, absolutely incredible. We thought Chelsea had thrown away any chance by losing to Liverpool on Wednesday night, and in the 85th minute of the City-Arsenal game, we sat there with Man City having one hand on the WSL trophy. But football's a funny game. Lots of things can happen. And come a few hours later, suddenly we're back to where we started after Chelsea put 8 past Bristol City. And City somehow threw away that match against Arsenal, conceding 2 goals in 3 minutes. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. It was great to watch. Really good football. And I mean, what an end we're in for. To see out this campaign, because to be honest, I thought the title fight was over, but after this weekend, anything can happen.
Well, Chelsea must be ruining that loss to Liverpool. Let's talk about the games, though, in detail. We'll start with the early game, go chronologically, of course. Manchester City 1, Arsenal 2. First off, Man City were definitely the better side. The Lauren Hemp goal, wonderfully taken. I mean, it was worked really nicely from Hemp in the beginning to switch the play across to Fowler. Fowler then back in, and Uahai managed to bring it down for Hemp, who then spun. It was a really nice turn, really nice finish. Not much that Zinsberg could have done about it in the goal. Good finish from Hemp. But from there, City sort of were happy with where they were. It was 17th minute, I think, the goal was.
Yeah.
And from there, City were just content with what they had. And it felt reminiscent of Chelsea on Wednesday night, where they'd got that first goal and went, now we're just going to sit and we're going to get this win over the line. And eventually, Liverpool then got those goals, and well, it was just a bit earlier that Liverpool equalised, and so that game had loads of action in it. The Liverpool did end up winning, of course, so similar result. But Arsenal, right at the end, getting it back. What did Arsenal? Well, why was City so strong in the first half to start?
Well, yeah, I mean, I sat here and said at half time that it was a champion's performance from Man City. They were incredible. They didn't put a foot wrong. There was no mistakes. Everything, and it was the decision making was very good. They were no inaccuracies in terms of passing. No one put a foot wrong, really. And Arsenal, A, they couldn't keep up. And B, to me, it looked like Arsenal were experimenting because no one really knew what they were doing on that pitch for Arsenal. And City were really strutting their stuff, playing very good, very fast football. And at half-time, I thought City would just see this out and cruise to a win.
Yeah.
I mean, boy, was I wrong.
Well, indeed. And Arsenal, in the second half, changed something. And I think what they changed, especially when they brought the subs on, was just going back to the basics. In the first half, as you say, they overcomplicated a little bit. We saw players popping up all over the place. There was a lot of fluidity, a lot of movement. And that's great in football. You want to see movement. You want to see players making runs deep to create space and all that sort of stuff. But having Beth Mead, who was at one point in the half playing pretty much as a 6 because she dropped in, it just doesn't make any sense. So they changed up in the second half. They went a bit more basic. They brought on stalwarts like Stina Blackstenius, and it had the desired impact. A brace, I believe, 89th minute and 92nd minute, second minute of additional time. A brace for Stina Blackstenius, and it completely turned the title race on its head.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first actually big change was at half-time. Bringing on Kim Little for Frida Manham gave Arsenal a lot more control, and they just managed to get a grip on the game. And once they had a grip, they put City under a lot of pressure, and City was starting to panic and starting to struggle. And then, I mean, we talk about the goals. Blackstenius, there were 2 really well-taken goals, but this is what a title race does to a team. City conceded in the 89th minute. They had completely lost their heads. Their heads went. They didn't care about the game. They knew it was a massive mistake to do. And what happened? They got punished again by Arsenal. City did not react to the equaliser, and they got punished for it.
Yeah, and it wasn't intricate tactics or details and passing patterns. It's we're going to stick in the box a really nibbly striker who's desperate to get on the end of things, wants to be involved in everything. Very active striker, Stina Blackstenius. And so when the ball drops for her, she does poke it past Kiara Keating. She does manage to head home the second. They just got a presence in there who wanted to go in and score goals, and that changed the game. Arsenal could then, whip the ball into the box, and they had someone to aim for. That's ultimately why they got that winner. Yeah. I don't think Russo or someone like that wins the header. 100%. But Blackstenius gets up, heads home wonderfully, and now Man City dropping points, losing the game, and that could losing the title. Ultimately, that could be what cost them the WSL title.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely massive. And, I mean, I'm surprised for City. I know that they struggle with rotation this season, But in that game, I think even with 10 minutes to go, I look at Stokes or Houghton, two experienced heads to cut, especially, I mean, after the goal, if I was Gareth Taylor, I'd have spun around and put both of those on. Because clearly there was a lack of experience and a lack of discipline from City that when Stina Blackstenius got her first, the reaction was horribly wrong and they were made to pay for it.
Well, it's quite similar to the Chelsea game. The heads seemed to drop, and even after the second goal, there was still 3-4 minutes of additional time. You saw them coming forwards, but they looked dejected. They didn't have any belief they could actually turn it around. And actually, I think what they needed after that first goal was just the affirmation from Taylor that a draw's enough.
Yeah.
A draw would have been enough. It would still be in their hands. But that second goal goes in, it hits the back of the net, City heads drop, and they realised in that moment, we've let this slip. We were leading the WSL, now we're not. Now Chelsea, if they win their games in hand by enough goals, will be going top and will have the advantage going into the final game week. And I think that City in that moment gave up right at the end of that game. And obviously there wasn't much time left, but they could have gone and found an equaliser. Yeah. They could have held on to the 1-1 draw in the first place.
That's what champions do. Teams that win leagues, wouldn't have conceded the second goal, and even if they did, might have gone and equalised themselves. But I was really surprised that Man City, they'd played like champions in the first half. They were coming into this game with 13 wins in a row in the WSL. They looked absolutely unstoppable. Even when the tide's against them, they still battled hard. But for some reason, they didn't. And when that goal went in, rather than do what they've done all season and go again, push on and keep fighting, they collapsed, they fell apart and they lost belief. And that, for me, I mean, maybe, I don't know what that was. I really don't know where that's come from because they've been perfect. Maybe they've got to the business end of the season and they've panicked under the pressure and they've threw it away. I really don't know. I was very surprised to see City lose the game in the manner that they did.
Yeah, I think you make some good points. I want to touch on Arsenal as well before we talk about Chelsea. Arsenal this season, they've done the domestic double now over Manchester City in the league. I know they lost in the FA Cup, but they won against them both times in the league. They beat Chelsea in the league and lost the other game, but that's still a 50-50 record. So for Arsenal, why aren't they in the title race this season? And how do they go about stopping losing those stupid matches?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Is it that inconsistency? And it's a really weird one. It just feels like some games, they're just never up for it. I mean, they were out of the game in the first half of this game against City, really. But I look at the loss to West Ham, the loss to Tottenham.
Even Liverpool on the opening day. They're games where they had chances, couldn't put them away, and the other team sprung forward. And I just think Arsenal lack a bit of steel. I mean, the fact they've got 3 world-class strikers and they still can't find enough goals at times is crazy to me. But they've also, I think they could look at improving goalkeeper next season.
100%.
But I don't think necessarily you can blame everything on the goalkeeper. There are other issues structurally. I mean, Arsenal, I think, are a little bit too exposed on the counter-attack. You think about how they've lost games this season. The Tottenham one, I believe, was a counter-attack. I don't remember the Liverpool goal, to be honest. But in that game, they missed so many chances. I mean, Rachel Laws was phenomenal. But I think they had something like 20 shots and didn't put any in the back of the net. Yeah. Something's got to give at that at some point. But yeah, it just feels like Arsenal are there against City and Chelsea. They've had the measure of them this season. This should have been their title, really. Yeah. If you think about it, if you look at Manchester United and if you look at Chelsea and Man City, they've not dropped points. City have only dropped points to Brighton as the only other team outside the top 3. Chelsea have only dropped points to Liverpool last week. Other than that, the only other games they lose in are games against Arsenal, Chelsea, City when they play each other. They're the only games. That's the key difference because Arsenal have lost to Liverpool, they've lost to West Ham, and they've lost to Tottenham. And they could have lost, I think, did they draw with Man United as well? Second game of the season. So there's just too much inconsistency there that City and Chelsea don't have. Now, obviously, Chelsea could lose to Man United in the final game week. They did lose to Man United in the FA Cup. But they seem to be a bit more secure and they get the results over the line most of the time. I mean, I'd say only one slip-up really for Chelsea. And it's that Liverpool game, and the one slip up for City is that Brighton game. But that's why they're level. Yeah, that's why they're there, and Arsenal aren't. Because realistically, Arsenal beaten City and Chelsea this season. So even if they'd only had one slip up, they'd be top of the league. And so I think that's a huge source of frustration for Arsenal and Eidevall, because another season where they should be in the title fight and they're going to come away with only a Conti Cup. Now, it's nice they've got something, because City or Chelsea will come away with nothing. One of those two teams, which is crazy, one of those two teams will come away with nothing. But for me, Arsenal should have been there in the title race this season.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Chelsea then. Chelsea 8, Bristol City 0. Let's first talk about the first half. Only 2 goals. Why did Chelsea struggle so much?
Well, I mean, I think, first of all, these games were set up perfectly. Because, as Emma Hay said in a press conference, she was in the car with Denise Reddy, listening to the Arsenal City game. And
no, through LJ.
Yeah,
You'd have called with LJ
and
listening to it.
For that, I mean, it was perfect. Because Emma Hay, I bet they sat in that car and they went, right, we know exactly what we've got to do tonight. And if there's one manager that can motivate their side to go and score heavy, it's Emma Hayes. And that's what they did. However, as you said, it wasn't plain sailing in the second half. And
in the first half,
sorry. And I think half this is a testament to Bristol City. Yes, they gave away a penalty, but they sat very deep, very low, knew exactly what they were doing, basically just sat in 2 lines of 5 at times.
But Chelsea didn't help that.
No, they didn't, because their way to break down a low block is to move it quickly and be inventive. And Chelsea really lacked that. I mean, it wasn't accurate. You've got to be precise when you're breaking down a low block, and you've got to play it fast. Chelsea did neither of those things and only came away with a scrappy corner and a penalty, which was frustrating at half-time, I think, for Chelsea.
Yeah. But my biggest issue is that Bristol City could have scored a few. There was quite sloppy errors from Chelsea, and against better opposition, Bristol City would have got a couple in that first half. But alas, Chelsea lived to fight another day with 2-0 up. Second half, absolutely bonkers second half, it has to be said. Chelsea's switching to what I can only describe as a 2-1-7 at times in attacking areas, because what they did was they took off their right back Eva Perisse and threw on Canaride. They took off Ingle and threw Macario in there. They got on, who else did they play? Can't remember now.
We brought on Kirby.
Oh, Kirby, sorry, yeah, Kirby as well for Nusken. And basically what they ended up with was Bright and Bjorn sat at the back. Both fullbacks would just bomb on in Canaride and Charles. And then Cuthbert would just sit in the midfield and everyone else up front. And that got goals. It worked. The wing backs created the width. Obviously, they did have to get back in. And then you had Cuthbert just sweeping up basically everything. And if it got past her, then it was Bright or Bjorn.
Yeah.
Then you just had Kirby, and I think it was Hermano sat on the edge of the box just trying to create chances. And then Beaver Jones, Wrighton and Macario sat in the box waiting to score goals.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, really worked.
It was so inventive from Hayes. And to be honest, I think maybe you look at it as going, she kind of went man for man with the low block.
Well, she basically said, look at Bristol City in that first half. We've given them clear-cut opportunities and they've not scored. So why not go all out attacking? We need the goals. The worst comes to worst is they get one on the counter, and alas, but if that happens, then we hope we've scored even more than we need to.
I think, and Chelsea knew the more they scored, the easier it would get. And I mean, wow, what a second half! And that we spoke about it before the game. That is the Chelsea that needed to turn up. That is vintage Chelsea. When their backs are up against the wall and they need a massive result, they get the massive result.
It's a Chelsea that we needed to see against Liverpool.
Yeah,
because ultimately, if that was a win, Chelsea would now have the title in their hands.
And I mean, it was a brilliant team performance. I think there was some. Niamh Charles was brilliant, not only scoring but at her creative best. Aggie Beaver Jones is in an incredible run of form.
Yeah.
Back 4 goals in her last 2 games is not too shabby at all. Really, really good first debut campaign. And I think the player of the match, and what a performance from Guro bloody Wrighton.
She's back.
What a game.
I think what we saw in Wrighton, obviously the penalty aside, was but even, in fact, no, I will include the penalty in this, is that there was a renewed confidence and a spark. Yeah. She stepped up to the penalty, scored it well. Her second goal just runs at the defender, waits for the space to open up, and then just slots it far post. It was an incredible effort from range. But it's just because she took a chance and she finished it off really well. Then there's the one that she blasted in at the front post. Again, it's just by taking a risk. She could have tried to play it across the box there, but she went, you know what? Goalkeeper's not great. I'm just going to score.
Yeah.
Rather than overcomplicating it, overthinking it, I'm just going to put it in the back of the net. And she did. She blasted it past Bentley, pretty much like it wasn't there. But yeah, and then the 4th goal was escaping my mind.
The free kick. We missed it because our thing cut out.
Oh, yeah. Whipped it in, that's why.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely brilliant. She joins only 5 other players to score 4 goals in one WSL game.
For her first hat-trick in WSL history, which stuns me somewhat because she was phenomenal last season.
But
hasn't been brilliant. She struggled this season, Guro, a lot, and she came back into the season a little later than everyone else. Didn't have pre-season because of that ankle injury. She hasn't really seemed her best. Could this be the turning point? Could we see the old Guro back?
I mean, it's perfect timing for Guro and for Chelsea. If there's one time for Guro to find her form again, and the old Guro to be firing on all cylinders for these last 2-3 games would be absolutely phenomenal. She has to take momentum from that. She was superb, deserved player of the match. Chelsea were brilliant, a really, really strong second half of football. And that is what they do when they need goals, when they need a result to keep them in the title. That's why they've won so many titles, because that is what Chelsea do. They get results when they need them, when they matter most.
Yeah.
And yes, City messed up. Yes, City handed them an open goal to get back in the title race. But Chelsea could have just taken it, as you'd say, with both arms and scored 4 and won the game. But instead, Chelsea went that step further, found 8 goals, put themselves ahead of City on goal difference, miles ahead on goals scored, and put themselves in the prime position, and some people might say in control of this title.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can control it when it's going to come down to that final day. See, Chelsea as well still have that. Well, it can't do anything. Oh, obviously Chelsea could lose.
To Tottenham. Obviously, it would be down to the final day, but that would be it, really.
Yeah, you would imagine so. But yeah, I think that Chelsea are now in the driving seat because I expect we'll beat Tottenham. We have the advantage of having a better team. We are better than Tottenham. And the fact that they've played in the FA Cup final on We've had 10 days rest. There's going to be an advantage there. Chelsea should have no issues against Tottenham. Obviously, that's not by no means a foregone conclusion, but I'd expect us to have it easy in that game.
Yeah.
Especially if Tottenham have lost, then I think they will be on quite a low. But then we do play Man United, and that is going to be very difficult. Looking at the fixtures, if we imagine Chelsea have won, it will come down to can City score more goals against Aston Villa than Chelsea score against Man United? And you'd expect so. So that Tottenham game becomes really important for goals.
Yeah.
Because if Chelsea win 3-0, then every goal they score in this United game, City have then got to get... So let's say they did win 3-0. City would then need at least 4, plus every one that Chelsea get.
Yeah.
And then one more. So it means if Chelsea can really pace Tottenham, it would put the title in their hands firmly because they would only need to beat United, which obviously is still a difficult game, but it would alleviate the fears that they've got to get loads of goals, especially given I expect Aston Villa will fight City because we know Carla Ward's affection for Emma Hayes and the fact they are a good team. I don't think they're going to fold in the way Bristol City have, or how other teams do against City. I think they will fight till the end.
It depends what City side come fighting back, and that's my one thing that is putting things in the balance for me is in my head I've got how many will City score and will Chelsea win, because there is nothing that Mark Skinner would love. He would love.
He must be conflicted though, because there's no way he likes Gareth Taylor, is there?
No,
or City. So
he might just void the game.
Maybe.
But I mean, Chelsea travelling to Old Trafford against Mark Skinner, who is known for hating Emma Hayes, is known for being a prick, and he would love to stop Chelsea winning the title. Whereas City go to an Aston Villa side who haven't been great this season and should be a pretty easy win. The advantage of City of that aspect, but as you say, if Chelsea can get a couple goals, even if it's 2-3-0 against Tottenham, City are going to have to absolutely pace Villa or hope that Man United can do something at Chelsea.
Yeah, that's the issue now for City, and I think there'll be a lot of frustration there because they've had the measure of Chelsea when they've played them. They beat them and they drew with them, but Chelsea managed to get a win in over Arsenal, which City couldn't. City lost both games, and then so that is all it comes down to now. That's why they're level, because despite having a better record against Chelsea, despite being the better team in the 2 games against Chelsea, they have a slightly worse record against Arsenal, and then both teams have made one mistake elsewhere in the season. Yeah. But it's going to be really interesting to see what happens now. For me, Chelsea should have beaten Liverpool, in which case they'd now be in control of the title race. If you look at both teams, both of them deserve to win. So I have no... Obviously, as a Chelsea fan, I want to see Chelsea win. I'll be devastated if we don't. However, I can accept if Man City win the title because they have been so good this season.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen a side this good that can challenge. Chelsea
Yeah.
The difference is City have matched Chelsea this season, and Chelsea aren't used to that because there's not usually another side that.
Well, United ran them to the final day, I think, last season, or at least the final few weeks, and ultimately, were they ever on the same level? Probably not. And we look at the United team now, and it's a distant memory.
Yeah.
But I think that this is the closest challenge Chelsea have faced, and it may be a challenge they can't conquer. They've still got two very difficult games, but equally, as Sky was showing yesterday, United aren't in the top 5 now, which means that United, Tottenham, and Aston Villa are all in that same 5 to 8 bracket. They're all very. The thing is, as well. We look at Aston Villa as being 7th in the league, but ultimately they are a team who last season were up there competing for 4th. They are a team who have a lot of quality. If Villa play to the best of their ability, that's not an easy game for City. And there's no way to tell whether Tottenham and United are going to be up for that game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be very intrigued to see how it all pans out. Obviously, I don't really know if there's much point in predictions. I think we'll both say Chelsea are going to win.
Yeah, I think so. It's a really tough one for me because I want Chelsea to win it, but City have been phenomenal, and I think no matter what, City can be happy. They'll be annoyed that they could go trophyless this year, which is ridiculous, by the way, because they've been so good.
Is that a slight risk that Gareth Taylor loses his job because of it?
No,
he shouldn't. He shouldn't. But
they might, maybe, yeah. But to me, as I was going to say, I think either way, no matter where this title ends up, whether it's Kings Meadow or whether it's the Joey Stadium, I think Man City can hold their heads high because they've been phenomenal this season. But the frustrating thing will be is if they lose this title, they will sit there and think, how on earth do we beat this Chelsea side? And I'm sure that going into next season, when Chelsea have got a lot of changes going on, City will be right back up there again, no matter what happens this year. But we are in for an absolutely crazy. I can't predict it because on Monday I thought Chelsea had it in the bag. After Wednesday, I thought City were going to win it by a canter, and then now I'm sitting here going, I don't know. Anything can happen in football.
Yeah.
I still think we've got a lot of twists and turns in this game.
Well, potentially so. It's going to be very interesting to see how this season pans out. On top of that, if City did lose this title, is next year... Do they have to win something next year?
100%, because they went trophyless last year, and last year they're outside the top 4 and trophyless, which was really poor. They've made progress. I think they'll make a good go at the Champions League. If they win the league, obviously they'll get into the group stage automatically. If they come second,
you'd think they'll get through prelims.
And
there shouldn't be any team. Yeah. I think even like a PSG doesn't challenge City, or shouldn't beat City.
Maybe they could throw a curveball in this UCL fight next year. Who knows?
Well, yeah.
I really hope, for the sake of women's football and the sake of the competition in England and in Europe, I hope City keep this standard up.
But
I hope they keep
I think City and Arsenal could both realistically get to the semi-finals. So there's no reason why we couldn't see a lot of very competitive quarterfinals next season. I think the quarterfinals this year are a bit poor.
Yeah.
All the teams expected to win did win. The only interesting game really was the PSG Lyon one, but even that, not PSG Lyon, PSG Bayern. Even that, PSG did get through in the end, relatively easily. But yeah, should be very interesting to see what happens at the end of this season. That is everything, though, for today. As we've said, we will be covering all of the games live. Chelsea versus Tottenham on May the 15th. I'm so excited for that game. It should be a great stream again. And obviously, final day will be live early. We'll do a lot of build-up for that day. I'm not sure whether it'll be half an hour or any more. I expect it'll just be half an hour. But yeah, do join us for then. It will be a momentous day. But in the meantime, FA Cup final this weekend. We'll have a preview for that out on Friday, as well as obviously our coverage on Sunday. So make sure to join us there. Should be a great game between Manchester United and Tottenham. But that is everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.